Ellis here. Welcome to the latest episode of LowKick MMA's Weekly Roundup podcast. Delighted to be joined by Murdo Todd this week. He's been helping us out on the site over the past month or so, doing some great work, great interviews. And today we're going to break down UFC 267. How's it going, Murdo?
Well, first of all, appreciate that introduction. Very nice of you. I'm doing very well. I'm looking forward to the card. It's a card that us in the UK, we don't need to stay up till 5, 6 in the morning to watch. So it's an extra for us.
Yeah, I think this is the last for a while. I'm guessing the New York card are going to be a late one, but we'll take that. You know, we've had a few good weeks, a few nice weeks, topping it off with this brilliant card, and we'll jump straight in the main event. Jan Blachowicz puts his light heavyweight title on the line against Glover Teixeira, who's had a lovely resurgence at 41 years old to see himself back in this position after a couple of tough losses. First of all, what do you make of the fight, and how do you see it playing out?
I just think the more I look into it and the more I kind of watch the guys, it's hard to pick. I think Jan's got the advantage on the feet, but it's not like Glover doesn't, like, he can bang. He's got good boxing. I think Glover's got the advantage on the ground, but again, Jan can wrestle. I think Jan takes it, but he's got to be careful. Glover's dangerous when he's hurt. He can't rush in and be too. He's got to be careful.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the overall feeling is that it's just Jan Blachowicz's time. I feel like he's paid his dues. He's come through everything, and he's just peaking right now. And you could potentially say the same for Glover, but I honestly don't think his level of opponents has been at the same at the same echelons as what Blachowicz has been doing right now. I'm just cautious at the fact that I've picked Glover to lose against Anthony Smith and Thiago Santos, so I don't want to go too hard against him because he's made a liar out of me a couple of times. But for me, this fight is pretty straightforward. I think Jan Blachowicz needs to learn from what Thiago Santos and what Anthony Smith did wrong. Take his time. Glover is a very hittable man, and Jan Blachowicz is one of the most powerful people in the UFC, full stop. So I think if he, doesn't get overexcited in the early goings, doesn't blow his wad and things like that, I think this is his fight. And I don't think that's what we're going to see. I think we're going to see a very mature championship-like performance where we say, yeah, this is the champion, and he might actually hold on to the title for a little while now. So yeah, I'm backing Jan Blachowicz. Is that who you're going with, Jan?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Jan, but I like what you said there about the level of opposition. Obviously, Jan just kind of taking it to a whole new level. This win streak he's on is crazy. But the level of position Anthony Smith and Santos isn't as good. But we saw what Glover did to Anthony Smith. I mean, it should have been stopped. It was an absolute beatdown, and we've seen how good Anthony Smith looked recently. So how good is Glover?
Yeah, and that's the problem. And I'm something of an ageist, so once anyone gets over 40, the fact that he's in this position is crazy to me. So I'm not going to change around now. I'm going to keep backing against him. But you know what? Weirder things have happened. I thought that was a huge upset against Anthony Smith. I think I was, putting my house on that, putting everything on that one, and he caused a huge upset, and he's clearly got a route to victory. I don't think this is a total mismatch. I just honestly think it's Jan Blachowicz's time. Glover has done well just to get here, so to actually take it one step further might be a bit of a stretch, but we'll see on Saturday afternoon even. Lucky us. But yeah, brilliant fight, and no matter what way it goes, even if he gets starched with the first punch of the fight, Glover Teixeira absolutely deserves to be in this spot. So even though I am going the other way for like a third time in a row, I absolutely respect what he's done. It's just one of them things. I think he's running into an absolute beast in the peak of his career right now. I think, but Jan Blachowicz has probably got another year or two at the top, and then he'll decline too. So yeah, brilliant fight, and can't wait for that one. And we'll move on because we've got a pretty stacked card. And in the co-main event, Peter Yan against Corey Sandhagen for the interim title. It was meant to be Sterling in that rematch. In my opinion, this is a tougher fight. I think Sandhagen is a really tricky stylistic matchup for Peter Yan in terms of height, reach, just as creative striking. What do you make of this one?
I think it'd be hard to say that Jan's not the best in the division right now. But I think that can all change on Saturday. Sandhagen, if he wants to win, he's got to keep it on the outside. He landed 140 something strikes on the outside against TJ. He's got to do the same. He can't let Yan get close. Yan showed in his last fight that his grappling is world class. He's 8th in both accuracy in takedowns and takedown defense, so he can grapple. And his clinch game was superb against Sterling. And I think he will try and impose that thing against Sandhagen. But I think Yan will be too much. I think pressure will be too much, and I think he's just too hungry to get his title back.
Yeah, and for me, Yan is the man at bantamweight. I don't think anyone's beaten him, and that's not, for me, bantamweight's one of the strongest divisions out there. So there's just pure respect for Peter Yan. I think he's the man. I think he does what he wants in this division. I do think Sandhagen's got a chance, but it's more of a puncher's chance. Yan, he has that high guard. He stands there and he kind of lets people hit him, but that is a dangerous tactic when someone as sneaky and as explosive as Sandhagen's in front of you. So I'd expect them to kind of do less of that and just try and get this fight to the floor. Obviously, Sandhagen, was quickly tapped by Sterling, and that will be, something that Yan can think of, and maybe I'll get him to the floor, take all his weapons away, and potentially get a quick finish on the mat. So, yeah, I'm with Yan, but for me, it's a tougher fight than Sterling. I think it's probably a tougher fight than Dillashaw as well. I think Sandhagen stylistically could be a nightmare for Yan, and I think a lot of people will be backing him as the underdog. But and if it was anyone else, I probably would be siding with Sandhagen, but I just honestly think Peter Yan is the guy. I think he's going to run this division for as long as he wants. I think 27, 28 years old, got all the time in the world. So, yeah, can't wait for this one. Very exciting. Brilliant matchup. But for me, Yan will have too much. Yeah,
I think Corey said that he's got the better grappling game. I think he's more of a submission threat than Yan, but I don't think Yan will be. I think Yan's fight IQ is too high. I don't think he's going to put himself in those kind of positions where he's going to get caught. Let me ask you, see if it was TJ and he was healthy going against Yan, how do you think that would all go in?
Yeah, I think it would be more. It'd be closer on the scorecard, I think, but it'd be less. I think I just don't see a route how TJ would be able to get all his things off. In terms of he seems like a momentum fighter, so like he starts putting his combos together, really getting in the flow and things like that. And I think Yan would shut it down. But for me, I think all these tests are so exciting to see because they are true tests. I just honestly think this guy is, we're going to speak about Islam Makhachev in a bit, who has got all the hype in the world. I think it should be on Yan. I don't think anyone's touching him, no matter how good they are. And we've seen that with Sterling last time. Sterling's on this crazy run. He looks sensational for 5 or 6 fights in a row. And then really, he just got beat up in the end by Yan. And it's just, he's one of them guys, he does all these weird trips as well. So you think you're safe, and then the next thing you're on your back. And I think that's what could happen. He could potentially just whip a leg out of Sandhagen, end up on top and just raining down, damaging strikes. Aldo survived until, was it the 5th round? I'd be surprised if Sandhagen's able to stick in there that long, but he seems to take his time with he seems to play with his food a bit. He takes his time. There's no rush. So if it goes 5 rounds, I wouldn't be that surprised, but it just depends on what type of fight it is. So very excited to see the winner of this face Sterling. Very excited to see them face Dillashaw and, whoever else is coming up. But bantamweight for me is probably the strongest division. And Peter Yan will be champion again. Interim. Yeah, but he'll be champion again by the end of the weekend.
Yeah, 100% agree with you there.
And as we just mentioned, Islam Makhachev against Dan Hooker. So first thing first, hats off to Dan Hooker. He's
absolutely
he's having a nightmare with this, like COVID, in terms of people being affected with COVID. I'm sure people have lost people, but Dan Hooker, work-wise and missing out on his family, and he has a fight, then stays in a hotel for 4 weeks or something like that, quarantining, and he's back and forth, keeps doing it. Hopefully they're paying him really well, and it sounds like they are, because he's saying he just bought a house or something to his daughter. So well done him, and it doesn't get any tougher than this. All we keep hearing is Islam Makhachev is better than Khabib out of Khabib's camp as well. He's the man. He's the heir to the lightweight throne. Are you on that hype train?
I wouldn't say I'm not going to go as far as saying he's better than Khabib. I think what we've seen from him, it's been fantastic. It's been flawless. But again, he's not been facing the highest ranked opposition as he could. And it may be, people refusing to fight, but he's got Dan Hooker now. But it's a really good acid test. I think it really is going to come down to can Dan Hooker stop the takedowns, because Dan Hooker can mix it with anyone on the feet in the division. That's just a fact. So it's really going to be a really good fight. Competitive.
Yeah, and I really like Dan Hooker as an underdog in this one. I think Islam is, I would say, still unproven. He seems to take one step forward and another step back. To go from Drew Dober to Thiago Moses is, for me, it didn't make sense. And he's got Sandhagen on his record. That's a good one. There's a lot of good wins, and it's not that he's not brilliant, but he's also been knocked out as well. So he's not Khabib. He has been hit, he has been hurt, he has been stopped, and he has lost. So I think Dan Hooker is at least a level or two above Thiago Moses and Drew Dober. So he could cause issues, and we've seen him knock out guys with knees before. So, Islam gets a bit sloppy with the takedown, a bit desperate. He could eat something, and, I think that could be a big upset in that one. I think Dan Hooker's a real live underdog, and I think he's a big underdog. So definitely worth a couple of quid if you're interested in betting. But I guess we'll see. I think this is either one way or the other for Islam. It's either his coming out party and everyone really jumps on the train. I think a lot of people are kind of waiting to see what he's really about. And then also, or it could go the other way, and he could absolutely, end up proving all the doubters right and getting knocked out. So I'll be having a go on Dan Hooker. It's not necessarily that I think he's, definitely going to win. I think it's probably more favored towards Islam, but just the odds of it, a top contender against a relatively, up and coming press box. The odds are a bit crazy in his favor, I think, Islam.
Yeah, I think I was on the UFC website. I think Islam was a plus 425 favorite, which I think is silly. I think just Dan Hooker, yeah, he loses his last fight, but Michael Chandler is world class. And I think to take away from Dan Hooker and what he's achieved just because of that one ball is silly. He looked really good in his last outing. And, he will be coming in motivated. I think he really wants to upset the party. And I think he has the ability to do it. He's incredible. And like you were saying with those knees, that's, if you're going to stop a takedown, a knee's not a bad way to do it.
Yeah, he's got a few of them knockouts. Ross Pearson was one I remember. I know he's got a few of them, but did he get Gilbert Burns with something like that as well?
I think so. I think he might have, yeah.
Yeah, so he's a savage of knees. There's definitely a route to victory. And also, just a couple of fights ago, he was pushing Dustin Poirier for my money, and I think most people's money is the best lightweight on the planet right now. So he pushed them all the way. He gave him as good as he got. He nearly had him out today, was it, in the second? So I think he's got everything it takes to cause a huge upset here. And yeah, as I said, I'll have at least a tenner on that one.
I think that's a smart bet, to be fair.
And before that, we've got Alexander Volkov against Marcin Tybura, kind of flying on the radar. We've got so many banger fights on this. You just forget about these two heavyweights. And for me, it's a pretty simple fight. I think Volkov is the better fighter. He's fought at the higher level. He's beaten people at the higher level, and he's knocked people out at the higher level. So I think that's how it's going to go. What do you think?
I think it'll be closer than what people are expecting. Tybura's on a good 5-fight win streak. He's got wins over Ben Rothwell, Walt Harrick, and Spivak, and I think it'll be more competitive than people will say it is. But I think ultimately Volkov does get the job done, and I think he does get it done by knockout. But I think it will be closer.
Yeah, I think that heavyweight division is it's a weird one, because you go from fighting, with all due respect, lower level guys. And then once you get to the top, you see people like Volkov. So I think although in rankings, there might not be a big gap between someone like Walt Harris and Volkov. But for me, talent-wise, he's so much better than Walt Harris. And he's on his day, he's potential champion, just hasn't been able to put it all together yet. So I totally respect what Tybura has done recently. But when I look at the people he's beaten, Greg Hardy, is amateur and novice, basically. Ben Rothwell, that's a decent win, but still not someone who's ever going to be knocking on the door of a title shot.
Rothwell, especially at this age now, I think he's 40, 41 now.
Yeah, so, and then also getting stopped by Sakai in one round. I don't think Sakai is necessarily a big puncher. He's more of a volume puncher, so that's an alarm bell. And I think Volkov, just everything I've seen from him says that he could potentially be a title challenger or winner on his day. He just hasn't put it together yet. And I think Tybura, this would be a huge upset for me. Like, this would be a big upset than Dan Hooker. I'm not sure what the odds look like, but for me, Volkov's going to be strong in this one. I would be surprised if Tybura sees the 3 rounds, but at the same time, I wouldn't be. I think Volkov's also not the biggest puncher either, so that's why I'm going. Are you going Volkov too, or are you?
I'm going Volkov by knockout. I think probably second round, third round. He'll get to. I think he'll try and figure him out. He's very tactically sound, and I think he'll figure out Tybura by the second, third round.
Yeah, and before that, we've got Khamzat Chimaev. Brilliant to see him back. Last summer he burst on the scene. It was 3 fights in I don't know how many days it was, but it was very quick turnaround. And then since I think it was last September, he's been out. Caught COVID, had some complications. I think he retired at one point, but now he's back and he's in there with Jingliang. What do you make of Khamzat first as a potential prospect in this welterweight division?
He definitely has the potential to be up there. I think the height train was I think it was a bit much when it first started. The first couple wins were impressive, and he has been really good. But I don't think I'm not as high as other people are, but I think he definitely has the potential to challenge for the title and be a top contender. I'm just worried about how he's going to recover after COVID, because he seemed to have it quite bad. As you mentioned, the retirement situation where he retired, he had COVID really bad, he's in and out of hospital. So be interesting to see how he does, especially with cardio. How much do you give Jingliang a chance in this fight?
I think when I'm doing my underdog bet, I'll probably throw him on it. Him and Dan Hooker I give him less of a chance than Dan Hooker, but at the same time, I'm with what you say. I'm interested to see how Khamzat comes back. This is definitely the toughest fight of his career, in my opinion. And we see what happened to Santiago Ponzinibbio, who come off a long layoff and then fought Lee. He got starched. So I'm under no illusions that Lee is going to ever be a top contender. I think Khamzat will eventually go further, but if you're going to get him, I think this might be the time. And for me, he's so eager to get to the title, so eager to push through the rankings. He could be a bit overzealous and get caught. So, Lee is a puncher. He could cause an upset in this one. Again, I think it's good odds for the upset. Someone who is relatively unproven in like Chimaev. I think his wins are not worth much in the UFC. Who did he beat? John Phillips, who's been cut, who had 0 wrestling. Reese McKee, who's been cut, who was on 7 days notice, and I think he's a lightweight for the most part. The GM3 win is a good win. It's a brilliant win, but that's at middleweight. So at welterweight, we've seen nothing yet to say Chimaev is the guy. And I think this is the one where he either proves he's legit, or he gets a big upset loss and Lee moves on. So very excited to see him back. I think potentially, he is, in talking about the next big thing in the UFC, we see the hype around Paddy the Baddy and Sean O'Malley, and I think Chimaev is the more complete fighter who could potentially go on and be a champion or a multi-weight champion. So very excited to see him back. I think he'll win, but again, when you see these massive odds in favor of, against someone like Lee, who is a banger, he has got a lot of things on his side, it's hard not to be interested in them.
Yeah, I think Lee is a really good test for Chimaev at this point in his career. Lee's really experienced. He's been at top level for a long time. He can bang, and he's tough. And I think if he can stop the takedown and make it a bit difficult for Chimaev, we'll really see how good Chimaev really is and how willing he is to dig deep and get the job done.
Yeah, he seems like a savage. Everything he says and everything he does, he seems like a savage. And I hope Lee is able to extend him for the 3 rounds so we can see what he's got in the tank. I think that's how it's going to go. I think it's going to go 3 rounds and Chimaev's going to get the decision. But as I said, an upset wouldn't be crazy in this one. And I think, I like the fact that although it's been an injury or sickness that slowed him down, I like the fact that he's not jumping to the front of the queue to fight someone like Leon Edwards. This is the right step at the right time. Lee on this main paper, well, it's not even pay-per-view, is it? But there's numbered card. It's the right step, the right time. And then after this, he can go and get someone like, a Vicente Luque or Chiesa or someone of that ilk. And then after that, it's it's on to the big ones. So yeah, brilliant bit of matchmaking. I think Khamzat's got it, but you never know.
Yeah, I think the UFC, what one last thing about Chimaev, I think the UFC really need to be careful how fast they push him. We've seen it before. They push stars too quickly, and it affects their career, affects their confidence. They can't let that happen with Chimaev. They've got something really special here. They can't. And I think throwing him in with Leon Edwards really soon, and I think it is a blessing in disguise. It never happens because I think it would be far too soon for Chimaev. So the UFC really need to be careful how fast they're pushing this man.
Yeah, and it all depends how he looks in this one. If he looks sensational, goes out, starches Lee, then the train is back moving, and then he's going to be calling out everyone at the top of the division, and he's probably going to get them because he is so charismatic. He does have all that star power. But if he labours to a decision win, which I think is most likely going to happen, maybe that helps him and it slows it down. But either way, it's interesting to see, and I'm sure, you know, he'll get one of the biggest pops on the card because already, I think it's 9 fights he's into his career, he's already a star. So it's just about going in there and proving it now. And before that, we've got Magomed Ankalaev against Volkan Oezdemir. For me, this is potentially the fight of the night. I think both of these are bangers. I think it's a brilliant test for Ankalaev, who I think is, you know, maybe the future of the division. But Volkan, I don't think he can be underrated either. What do you make of this one?
Yeah, it's a really good fight. I mean, Ankalaev, obviously, he's still young, 29, although he looks a bit older. He's a master of sport in Sambo and MMA. So he's got that pedigree, and he's, you know, I think we're going to see knockout of the night if in this fight. Oezdemir can bang, Ankalaev can bang. I think Ankalaev does get it done by stoppage. But Oezdemir still good. He's still reasonably young. He's experienced and he can bang. So you know, just expect a really good fight from this one. You know, before the Yuri fight, Oezdemir had a win over Rakic. You see how Rakic now, so he's still able to compete at the top level.
Yeah, and for me, he beat Dominic Reyes as well. Very unlucky to come out with a split decision loss in that one. So, yeah, I think Volkan remains a threat, but obviously he's coming off a horrible knockout loss, and it's been like a year on the sidelines and things like that. Meanwhile, Ankalaev has been, you know, he's been flowing. You know, we had all the Kutalaba stuff, which was a pointless fight because it was a clear mismatch, and I don't know why he booked it again. But then he gets a win over Krylov, a hard fought win, and Nikita had looked really, you know, pretty good as of late before that. So, I think Ankalaev's just the guy. It's one of them things again where I'm speaking about Peter Yan. I think Peter Yan's the guy of that division. And it doesn't matter who he's in with, how good they are. I think he's going to win. And I'm the same with Ankalaev. You know, he's pretty much won everything in his UFC career except for about 2 seconds against Paul Craig when he tapped him at the end. It was, you know, so he's looked pretty perfect, and there's not really much to point out and you know, negatively. Whereas Oezdemir, he's looked a bit vulnerable on the floor at times. He's just been knocked out. Maybe he's done at the top of the sport, I guess we'll see. But, you know, this win here, if he can get this win, I think it would be an upset, and I think it puts him back in the mix. So, yeah, big fight. And for me, we're either going to see, you know, a big performance of the night, knockout bonus, or we're going to see a fight of the night and a war over 3 rounds. Well, either way, can't wait for this one.
Yeah, absolutely great fight. I think Ankalaev gets it done by knockout. But you were saying Ankalaev's the future of the division. Do you think after this he could beat Yuri? Do you think he's at that level now, or do you think a couple more fights he's at the top?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be Yuri again. I think Yuri is just getting the next shot straight up. I don't think he's going to have to fight again. He's too everything. He's got everything. He seems championship ready. He's too fun. He's too everything. But for me, it's not. Yuri is not an impossible fight. Although he looks sensational, you know, he admittedly said he got knocked out by Dominic Reyes. So, you know, there's way to beat him. He's been knocked out a few times. I think he's got that, you know, and people, you might be thinking I'm funny here, but he's got that Johnny Walker thing where he's going in, he's blasting everyone out and everyone's getting excited, and he is doing it at a higher level, no doubt about it. But I think he's there to be hit. And I think someone like Jan Blachowicz would deal with him. Someone like Ankalaev could potentially deal with him, but at the same time, he could shut their lights off as well. So I think if Ankalaev wins this, you're talking more about who's in the rankings there towards the top. Someone like Rakic. I think Rakic is he's on a brilliant streak and he's looking good. but he still hasn't done enough to earn a shot. I don't think he's as exciting or hasn't been exciting. So I think he's going to have to earn it the hard way, Rakic, and going through someone like Ankalaev might be the way he has to do it. Yeah, and that's the main card. So we've got a pretty stacked undercard, you know, lots of names. And I'm starting at the top here. We've got Amanda Ribas, you know, one of the, you know, most exciting female prospects in the sport. She's on her way back after suffering a TK loss to Marina Rodriguez earlier this year. And she's in there with Verna Jandaroba, who I've really liked watching. You know, I think she had a brilliant fight with Mackenzie Dern. Good win over Murata last time out. So she's only lost to Dern and Esparza there, you know, two big names. Do you think Ribas can put a third loss on a list?
Yeah, I expect her to. I think both of them are fantastic grapplers. I think, but I think Ribas just has she's so much quicker on the feet. I think she's technically better on the feet, and I think Jandiroba, she's struggled on the feet. We've seen that, but yeah, I expect Ribas to get this done by decision. I don't think they're gonna submit each other. I think it will kind of stay on the feet, this one. But I definitely see Ribas getting the decision win. What about yourself? How do you see this one going?
I do like Jandaroba. I think she's got a lot going for her, but she is in that, for me, that Damian Maia, you know, type of fighter where she's catching up with the striking and she's having to do, you know, learn on the job. And she got outstruck by Mackenzie Dern, and we see Mackenzie Dern striking is not really anything to, you know, write home about when she was facing Marina Rodriguez a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, I think Ribas, she will get the hype train going again. I was very surprised she lost the last one. She seemed to have it all. And I think she'll get it back going again. She'll get on the mic, she'll say something that'll get fans loving again, and she'll be back in the mix. But Jandaroba's, you know, definitely a live dog in this one as well. I think she's capable of pulling something off, but I just don't think this is the right opponent to do it against.
I mean, you mentioned the Mackenzie Dern fight. That's obviously an opponent they have in common, and we saw what Ribas did to the feet against Mackenzie Dern, and then what Mackenzie Dern did to Jandiroba. So I just see that I just don't really see how Ribas loses this unless she gets caught in a submission. But I don't think she'll want to take it there, and I think she'll have the skills to stop the takedowns and defend the submissions.
Another fight I want to talk about on the undercard is Lerone Murphy back in action. Obviously, we're from the UK, and he's been struggling to get fights lately. He's been booked in a few. They've been cancelled. I think Charles Jourdain, he fell out of that fight. Julian Rose ended up taking it and winning, and now he's in against Amir Khani on pretty late notice. What do you make of this one? How did you see it going?
You know, I just think if Amir Khani, if it's really about if he can secure the takedowns, because Murphy is far superior on the feet. He can bang. He's got good power. So it's really just if Amir Khani can get it. He's got really good submissions. He's got a really good anaconda choke. So it's about him. If he can threaten the submissions, then he can get the decision win. But I see Murphy still far clear away from that and getting the knockout win in this one. What do you see about this one? How do you have it?
Yeah, I really like I really do like Murphy. I think he's got a lot to offer. I think, you know, when you look at the fighters Amir Khani's beaten recently, Danny Henry, is he even still in UFC? I'm not sure. He's from Scotland, so I'm not dissing him.
No, I don't think he is. No,
I don't think he is. Then before that, Chris Fishgold's not in the UFC. Jason Knight's not in the UFC. Mike Wilkinson, Andy Ogle. None of these are, you know, relevant anymore. And he got beat by Kamala Kirk, who I think come in on late notice for his UFC debut, was it last time out? So I think Amir Khani maybe has had his best day, and maybe this is a good chance for Lerone Murphy to go out, make a statement, you know, knock out a guy who was pretty highly regarded, and he is a tough guy. And I think, you know, the fact that he was able to survive 3 rounds with Edson Barboza says that. So I think Lerone will be, you know, confident of going in, making a statement, maybe getting a performance bonus, but definitely moving towards those ranks. I think he's got it all, and I think he's 30 years old. He'll want to push on now. So he's got a brilliant story as well, as we've all heard, and he looked brilliant last time out. So yeah, I really like him. I think this is his fight to lose, and obviously for the UK, it's not. I hope he gets it, you know, in the win column.
Yeah, absolutely.
And anything else on the card you want to pick on? And any other fights?
There's not too much on the card. There's obviously a lot of kind of Russian and Dagestani fighters. They usually have them when they fight in the Middle East. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of, next prodigy we've got in store for us, because you never know with these guys. They just kind of seem to come out of the blue, like Chimaev. So, Yazan is created a lot of memories. So I'm really looking forward to ones we see on Saturday. And I'll be able to pay full attention because I won't be half asleep. So it'll be
Yeah, a rare treat for everyone involved, really. For us, we don't have to stay up to the middle of the night. The guys in America, they get it for free. No pay-per-view, you just have to have ESPN Plus. So I think it worked out for everyone. At the top of the card, we got two, massive title fights. Then we roll on into next week, and then it's UFC 268. So the fun doesn't stop. And after a pretty dull, October of fight nights and not the best, I think they're gonna deliver right at the end. So can't wait for this one. Thanks for breaking it down with me, Murdo, and hopefully we'll have you on again soon.
Yeah, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it, man.
Make sure to subscribe to the LowKick MMA YouTube channel for all the latest news, event previews, and interviews with some of the biggest stars in MMA.